Hello everyone, my name is Dylan. Welcome back to Keep's Kitchen. Today, we're making cheese, all right? It sounds ambitious, and if I was making like an aged 6-month-old, 2-year-old cheese, it would be ambitious for this show, but fear not. I'm making a much quicker cheese. It's called farmer's cheese, and it takes, 15 to 20 minutes to get the first part of the cheese done, and then you just put it in the fridge for a little bit to let it firm up, and that's it. So all you're gonna need for this recipe is a half gallon of whole pasteurized milk. So not ultra pasteurized. You'll know it's ultra pasteurized when you look at the expiration date and it's a couple months away, or like a month. You don't want that. You want regular pasteurized milk. Raw milk is best, but I don't know if it's easy to get. If you live on a dairy farm, just go out and get some. But for the rest of us, regular pasteurized milk will work. And you want it to be whole, because you want all the milk fat in there. And then a 1/4 cup of white vinegar and some salt. And that's it. So, let's do it.
So if you want to make cheese, the first thing you do is turn your stove on to a medium or medium-low heat and pour a half gallon of whole pasteurized milk, or raw milk if you can find it, right into your pan. Flat-bottomed pan is best if you have it. You can use other types of pans, but flat-bottom, just make sure you get the best heat distribution. Now you're going to heat your milk until it starts to gently simmer, and stir. Make sure you don't let it sit for too long, because otherwise it will burn and you'll be very sad. Now, I was very careful with mine. I had the heat a little lower than it needed to be, and I was extra careful because I could only find 1/2 gallon of whole pasteurized milk, so I really didn't want to mess up and have to drive somewhere and try to find another half gallon. So it took me quite a while. I'm just going to fast forward through the montage of me stirring. Be glad I didn't include it. It was like an hour. Okay, after your milk has reached the point of being about 190 degrees, which you can tell two ways. One, you'll see some nice fine bubbles at the top, but not a rolling boil. Or two, you use a thermometer, which is what I did. You turn off your heat, and you add in a 1/4 cup of distilled white vinegar. Any brand will do, doesn't really matter. And this distilled white vinegar encourages the splitting of the milk, due to the acidity of the vinegar, into curds and whey. And this process speeds up the longer you let it sit, and it's helped along by that initial stirring, as you see me do. In just a second, I'll grab the camera and bring it a little closer so you can see the process up close. There we go. You can see it's already started to separate into the curds and whey. And now we're just going to let it sit for about 15 minutes to finish separating. And then at the end of those 15 minutes, we'll add in some herbs and begin the cheese forming process. Alright, so I chopped up some fresh dill and some green onion, and I'm just going to toss that right in there, stir it around to incorporate a little bit, and then it'll be time to strain the cheese and separate those curds and whey from the mixture. So you're going to use a bowl, a colander, and a piece of cheesecloth or a dish towel. Just make sure the dish towel is clean and you haven't used it for anything. And this allows you to pour the curds and whey right through the dish towel and the colander and separate everything nicely and cleanly. I recommend using a spoon to take out some of the curds before you pour everything in there, just so you don't have a big splash when everything comes out. I thought about it in the beginning, but it just ended up using a spoon to take the rest out. Once you've finished pouring everything through, you're going to take the corners of your cheesecloth or your cloth, and you're going to lift it up and start squeezing your cheese to get some of that whey out. The amount of whey that you leave in your cheese will affect the final texture. So if you want it a little bit creamier, you can leave some whey in, but if you want it a little bit crumblier, you can just squeeze a little bit more whey out. And if you squeeze a little bit too much whey out, you can always add more in afterwards with a ladle, like I did. At this point, you're going to add in your salt. I added in 1 teaspoon myself, then tasted it and thought, it needs a little bit more. So I added another 1/2 teaspoon. This is completely up to you. You may find that 1 teaspoon to be just fine. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm just adding a little bit more whey into the cheese to make it a little creamier. I added maybe 2 tablespoons. It wasn't very much at all. And I just stirred the cheese around a little bit more to reincorporate the whey to make it creamy. And that's it. Now you're just going to take the cheesecloth or your dish towel, gather up the ends, turn the cheese to make a little ball, but don't squeeze it too hard because you don't want to squeeze out that extra whey you added. Now just place it on a plate in the fridge and let it cool for about an hour or longer, and it'll firm up and reach a little bit nicer of a texture, and then you can eat it.
Okay, my friends, the time has come. Cheese time. Look, it turned out pretty good. So I left it in the fridge for an hour, wrapped in that towel to form the shape. And you can leave it for longer if you want it to be a little bit firmer than it is, but I really didn't feel like waiting. So I'm gonna get some. I know it's weird to eat cheese with a fork, but this is a no judgment zone. We've been over this. Don't judge me for eating with a fork. All right, so. Tastes like cheese, which is the goal. So the dill is really strong. I think next time I'll put a little bit less dill in. I just kind of eyeballed it, a little less dill in. Ooh, that's me. Anyway, I'll do a little bit less dill in the next cheese that I make. But I put in a little bit of extra salt as well. I think I put in, the recipe called for a teaspoon. I did maybe 1.5 teaspoons, and that's more to my taste. So I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I hope that you get to make this at home because it really is super simple. It doesn't take too long. Bringing the milk to a boil takes a little bit, but other than that, it's really simple. And anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.